Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do your pit strategies correctly, because I know some people said they don't have time to set up pit strategies, etc, etc, and they're a bit worried because some races are 2 weeks in between each other, some races are even 1 week after the other. I think there's only one of those rounds that are 1 week after the other, but some of them are 3 weeks, so you have a bit more testing time. So effectively I'm going to show you how to do your pit strategies correctly and how to apply them to your car without you getting into the pits and realising it's put something else on it. So basically, once you're in a practice session or qualifying session, you can do your pit strategy after qualifying as well. So if you don't manage to do it before in qualifying, you can do it just before the race. So basically, go into your pit strategy here. I've already created my Gt4 one, but we'll just bin that at the moment. So you want to create new pit strategy, ignore the default, create new. So go up to create new and click it. Call it anything, just Gt4 just for this reason. So now you've got pit stop estimation time at the top, which is 668 seconds, which is absolutely ridiculous. You don't want to be doing that because you'll be sitting there for 3 hours. So what you want to do to bring that down, as we're not running damage, you need to turn all your damage off. So go to your damage repair, and everything that's highlighted yes, switch to no. And you'll see the time on the top left coming down as I do it. Okay? Switch it all to no. You don't need to fix anything because you won't have that issue. All of a sudden we're down to 8 seconds, alright? So that will give you a nice quick stop. So don't forget to press X at this point, otherwise it doesn't save it. Press X and then press your back button, okay? So you're now on 8 seconds. Now all you need to do is set your fuel and tyre setup. So if you're running a full tank from the beginning of the race, so let's just say this race, the first round is going to be 25 laps, you won't need to add any more fuel in if you've got enough fuel in from the start. So if you're running, let's say 65 or 70 litres, you don't want to come in and then start putting more fuel in the car, do you? Because otherwise it just ups the time and it wastes a lot of time that you're going to be losing on track. So switch that down to 0. Run a full. I would suggest running a full tank of fuel, but again, it's up to you guys. I really don't know what's best. If you run a full tank of fuel, it may, you know, on the start of the race you may be slow, tyres might take a hit. You might want to start with half a tank of fuel, be quicker out on track during the race, but then you'll sacrifice time in the pits because you're going to be putting fuel in, because you will need to put fuel in if you only run half a tank. I will normally run a full tank of fuel, or the sufficient amount of fuel for the race, so I don't have to refuel in the pit stop, because I always want the quickest stop possible. So add fuel, go to 0 laps, change tyres. Now this is the important bit, so ignore recommended. I'd rather you just do your own setup here. So you can change either the fronts, or you can change the rears, or change all of them. Match all the tyre compounds. Again, that's up to you. If you want to do different compounds, perhaps not all terrain, but hard, you can put hard there, hard there, hard there, soft there, whatever. But I'd suggest matching them all up. Softs or hards, whatever you're running, or even if it's a wet race, make sure you get your wet tyres ready. So make sure you select, so for instance, soft tyres, and your pressures. Make sure you got your pressures right. This is really, really, really important, because you need to know what pressures you're running in the game. You need to know what pressures you're running in your pit stop. For God's sake, get it right. In your setup, and then apply them to here. So, for instance, if I just get out of this, save pit strategy, go out, go to tuning setup, go to edit setup, and you can see what pressures I'm running there. Now the problem is with this, excuse me, it says it's in PSI, and I'm not sure, I can't remember how to change it to bar, so that might have to be changed in the main menu. In fact, I might be able to change it in the main menu now, I think, somehow. Gameplay, units, maybe it's metric. Let's have a look. Now go to tuning setup. There you go, now it's in bar. So now we're in metric. We run, at the moment I'm running one bar of pressure on the front and rear, so not a lot. 1.08 and 1. So genuinely that's not a lot of pressure at all. But that's what I've got in the moment. So what you want to do is, now you know what you're running there, get out of this, go to your pit strategy, go back to your GT4 setup, click square for edit, and go back into your tyres. So we now know we're running a lot less than that. So we need to make sure that's on 1.08 or closest to it. That's fine, it doesn't go to 1.08, so 1.07 or 1.09. So when you come to do your pit stop, you have a set of tyres that have the correct pressure in them. Otherwise, if you go out with pressures that are too high, you're not going to get any temperature, and it's going to ruin your second half of the race. So there we go, that is literally it. So 1.7 and 1 bar. Make sure your damage repair is on a no, and then you got a 24.5 second pit stop. That is effectively it. Just click save pit strategy, click out, and make sure it's ticked, because it will be on default, so make sure it's ticked. Make sure you have it active by pressing the X button. So activate the GT4 setup, job done. That's it. So yeah, again, just make sure you got your pressures right. Copy your pressures from your setup into your pit strategy. That's it. And then when you go out, you'll just need to come in the pits and they'll put exactly what you've asked them to do. 24 seconds worth of pit stops. If you do want to change anything while on track, you can do, but if you think you only need to change the front tyres, let's say, then it's only a 13-second pit stop, so you've saved yourself 11 seconds just by changing 2 fronts rather than all of them. So you can do that as well, but it just depends how you want to get on. But everyone has to make 1 pit stop regardless. Everyone has to make 1 pit stop. There's no getting around that. Mandatory pit stop will be on, so you can take that pit stop on lap 1. You can take it on the second to last lap, but no one's allowed to take it on the last lap. You're not allowed to take a pit stop on the last lap. I can't stress that enough. If you haven't taken a pit stop and it's the last lap and you go across the line after you've done a pit stop, so if you do a pit stop and then go across the line to finish the race while you're in the pits, you'll get disqualified. Simple as that. You have to take your pit stop on the penultimate lap if you're going to do it. You can take it on lap 1 if you want, but that would be pretty pointless because you've ruined a good fresh set of tyres. Anyway, I hope that's all made sense. Any questions, just ask me and I'll answer them as much as I can.